Chapter 2. Augustus Waters drove horrifically, whether stopping or starting. Everything happened with a tremendous jolt. I flew against the seatbelt of his Toyota SUV each time he braked, and my neck snapped backward each time he hit the gas. I might have been nervous. What with sitting in the car of a strange boy on the way to his house, keenly aware that my crab lungs complicate efforts to fend off unwanted advances. But his driving was so astonishingly poor that I could think of nothing else. We'd gone perhaps a mile in jagged silence before Augustus said, "I failed the driving test 3 times." "You don't say." He laughed, nodding. "Well, I can't feel pressure in old Prosty, and I can't get the hang of driving left-footed. My doctors say most amputees can drive with no problem, but yeah, not me. Anyway, I go in for my first driving test, and it goes about like this is going. A half mile in front of us, a light turned red. Augustus slammed on the brakes, tossing me into the triangular embrace of the seat belt. Sorry, I swear to God I am trying to be gentle. Right. So anyway, at the end of the test, I totally thought I'd failed again, but the instructor was like, "Your driving is unpleasant, but it isn't technically unsafe." "I'm not sure I agree," I said. "I suspect cancer perk. Cancer perks are the little things cancer kids get that regular kids don't. Basketballs signed by sports heroes, free passes on late homework, unearned driver's licenses, etc." "Yeah," he said. The light turned green. I braced myself. Augustus slammed the gas. "You know, they've got hand controls for people who can't use their legs," I pointed out. "Yeah," he said, "maybe someday." He sighed in a way that made me wonder whether he was confident about the existence of someday. I knew osteosarcoma was highly curable, but still, there are a number of ways to establish someone's approximate survivor expectations without actually asking. I used the classic, "So are you in school?" Generally, your parents pull you out of school at some point if they expect you to bite it. "Yeah," he said. I'm at North Central, a year behind, though. I'm a sophomore. You?" I considered the line. No one likes a corpse, after all. But in the end, I told the truth. "No, my parents withdrew me 3 years ago." "3 years?" he asked, astonished. I told Augustus the broad outline of my miracle. Diagnosed with stage 4 thyroid cancer when I was 13. I didn't tell him that the diagnosis came 3 months after I got my first period light. "Congratulations! You're a woman, now die." It was, we were told, incurable. I had a surgery called a radical neck dissection, which is about as pleasant as it sounds. Then radiation. Then they tried some chemo for my lung tumors. The tumors shrank, then grew. By then, I was 14. My lungs started to fill up with water. I was looking pretty dead. My hands and feet ballooned. My skin cracked. My lips were perpetually blue. They've got this drug that makes you not feel so completely terrified about the fact that you can't breathe. And I had a lot of it flowing into me through a PICC line, and more than a dozen other drugs besides. But even so, there's a certain unpleasantness to drowning, particularly when it occurs over the course of several months. I finally ended up in the ICU with pneumonia, and my mom knelt by the side of my bed and said, "Are you ready, sweetie?" And I told her I was ready, and my dad just kept telling me he loved me in this voice that was not breaking so much as already broken, and I kept telling him that I loved him too. And everyone was holding hands, and I couldn't catch my breath, and my lungs were acting desperate, gasping, pulling me out of the bed, trying to find a position that could get them air. And I was embarrassed by their desperation, disgusted that they wouldn't just let go. And I remember my mom telling me it was okay, that I was okay, that I would be okay. And my father was trying so hard not to sob that when he did, which was regularly, it was an earthquake. And I remember wanting not to be awake. Everyone figured I was finished, but my cancer doctor Maria managed to get some of the fluid out of my lungs. And shortly thereafter, the antibiotics they've given me for the pneumonia kicked in. I woke up and soon got into one of those experimental trials that are famous in the Republic of Pennsylvania for not working. The drug was phalancyphore. This molecule designed to attach itself to cancer cells and slow their growth. It didn't work in about 70% of people, but it worked in me. The tumors shrank, and they stayed shrunk. Huzzah! Phalancyphore. In the past 18 months, my meds have hardly grown, leaving me with lungs that suck at being lungs but could, conceivably, struggle along indefinitely with the assistance of drizzled oxygen and daily phalancyphore. Admittedly, my cancer miracle had only resulted in a bit of purchased time. I did not yet know the size of the bit, but when telling Augustus Waters, I painted the rosiest possible picture, embellishing the miraculousness of the miracle. So now you gotta go back to school, he said. I actually can't, I explained, because I already got my GED. So I'm taking classes at MCC, which was our community college. A college girl, he said, nodding. That explains the aura of sophistication. He smirked at me. I shoved his upper arm playfully. I could feel the muscle right beneath the skin, all tense and amazing. We made the wheels screeching, turn into a subdivision with 8-foot high stucco walls. His house was the first one on the left. A 2-story colonial. We jerked to a halt in his driveway. I followed him inside. A wooden plaque in the entryway was engraved in cursive with the words "Home is where the heart is," and the entire house turned out to be festooned in such observations. Good friends are hard to find and impossible to forget, read in illustration above the cut crack. True love is born from hard times promised a needle-pointed pillow in their antique, furnished living room. Augustus saw me reading. My parents called them encouragements, he explained. They're everywhere.